Best Animated Picture of the Year. Sing.
Hey, Porky, keep it down, will you?
Rated PG.
And just like the movie itself, sometimes you can't really judge a book by its cover. You see a group of all these animals together, and you don't think they can do anything spectacular or amazing, but then they turn out to do something spectacular and amazing. That's kind of the assumptions that you gotta go with a movie like this. So welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. We have a lot of movies to get to here, so I'm not gonna waste any more of your time. It's the last official weekend for us on this show for 2016. Next week will be the 2016 leftovers. I've got that right here, so I'll talk about that at the end of the video. But let's get right to it. Starting off with the biggest new release of the weekend, which is, of course, Sing. And like I said, it involves a group of animals that enter a singing competition hosted by a koala hoping to save the theater. The koala being played by Matthew McConaughey. You got all these different side stories going on. Reese Witherspoon is an underappreciated mother of a bunch of kids, doesn't feel like her husband appreciates her work. You have Tori Kelly as an elephant who wants to sing, but she has a fear of singing on stage. You got Seth MacFarlane as a mouse who's part of gets involved with some bad people. Taron Egerton is the son of a criminal who's in prison, and as I mentioned, and Scarlett Johansson is coming out of a bad relationship, as you saw in the trailer there. Like I said, Illumination has been a very mixed bag when it comes to their movies overall. I'm very mixed on the Despicable Me movies. I said something when I like the Minions films over the Despicable Me films. I don't like Hop or the Lorax. I really don't like the Lorax, but I really like The Secret Life of Pets. And overall, the studio, they very much confuse me overall. I've touched on a lot of their movies on this channel. Of course, the Super Mario movies, Migration. Every once in a while, they'll do something great, but then they do something immediately afterwards that's not as good as it should have been. And I'm happy to report that this one is definitely one where I was actually pleasantly surprised by it. I remember they were promoting this movie like crazy, all the way from the very beginning of the year. It's like the push really began almost immediately after, almost immediately after The Secret Life of Pets came out. And then, of course, you had the Olympics the following month, and you saw a lot of promos for that. So yeah, there was a big push for this movie building up to it, and I thought maybe the overhype was going to kill it overall, but the movie definitely is pretty good. I'll touch on some of the negatives in a little bit here, but looking at the positives overall, I think the voice cast overall is really good. I mean, Matthew McConaughey is pretty good playing the Koala Buster. Reese Witherspoon's great as Rosalita. Seth MacFarlane's really good as Mike. Scarlett Johansson's pretty good here too. John C. Reilly, Taron Egerton, Tori Kelly, Nick Kroll, Nick Offerman, Peter Serafinowicz, Beck Bennett, Jennifer Saunders, Jennifer Hudson, Rio Perlman, Leslie Jones, Lorraine Newman, Jay Farrow, Bill Farmer. A lot of good people involved in this movie. The animation is surprisingly really good. They do a good job of distancing themselves from the usual animation style in Minions and Secret Life of Pets, and it definitely shows in this movie here. It's not as out in the open, and it feels much more refined and much cleaner than some of their other movies. I mean, the covers are all actually all really good. Any movie that can make me appreciate a terrible song like Call Me Maybe is really doing something right here. And yeah, the rest of the covers overall are really good. I mean, Seth MacFarlane doing Frank Sinatra's I Did It My Way at the end is easily one of the best songs in the movie. I mean, that is... But then again, Seth MacFarlane's a pretty damn good singer as well as a great animator and entertainer as a whole. Like, I mean, there's not one that I felt was badly done or just there to be topical and for kids in the audiences in the theaters. Like, it fit what they were trying to do. That does lead to some of the negative things overall about the movie. And yeah, the covers, like I said, are very good, but the original songs in here are kind of generic overall. I mean, this is the third computer animated film we've had in a span of 8 weeks. The third one after Trolls and Moana, two movies that I thought had far better songs in it than Sing did. Trolls at least had some original songs to it. Moana has songs that I'll remember for a long period of time, more so than the songs from Moana 2. I mean, when I did my original review, I saw Sing probably over a month after it came out. Over a month before I actually did my review, so around early January, right around my birthday. I already forgot about what these songs were in the movie. They were pretty forgettable, the original songs. And as good as the cast is, the characters themselves really aren't that memorable. I remember characters from Despicable Me and The Secret Life of Pets, but here, you can understand the situations they're all going through and see why they deserve to win the competition. But as far as like traits and personalities to them, they are kind of generic and very cliched riddle. And that leads to kind of the biggest problem with the movie, is that the story seems very familiar. I mean, it's very similar to the Muppets, where you have the Muppets getting together to have a big event to save the theater from being sold. It's literally the same plot here. I thought the backstories for the characters, well, interesting to see why each one deserved to win the competition. They are kind of cliched as hell. I mean, you knew exactly where it was going to go at the end. And I didn't feel like there was any point where you felt like they were going to go in a completely different direction overall. Everything you kind of think happens, and there's no real big surprises whatsoever. A really good animated movie should try to throw at least some twists and turns in the plot to make it more interesting. But everything's kind of where you think it should be here. So yeah, it sounds like I'm being more negative to the film, but I did end up enjoying this a lot more than I could have possibly imagined. I think it is a really enjoyable movie. It's a film that I do think has gotten better since I've seen it overall, and I like the fact that it does take a little bit more chances than some of Illumination's other movies they were doing at the time. Maybe it's nowhere near as good as Secret Life of Pets is, but I'm actually kind of surprised that Sing is probably the most stable series of films they've had in general. Because Sing 2, I think, is definitely a much better movie than the first film was, in terms of what they do to advance the story along, some of the bigger aspects they throw into it. It's a good movie. It's a film that I think has definitely gotten a lot better over time. I think it's a very solid film. I like it. I really do like it a lot, so take that for what you will. So let's go ahead and move on to another one of the big holiday releases. Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt, two of the biggest stars in Hollywood at the time, starring in a movie together in Passengers. What could possibly go wrong?
It was an accident. I won't let us die here. Rated PG-13.
Well, it would help if they actually had a good script to work off here, but then again, this is an original sci-fi film, and you know how we feel about original sci-fi films around here. Most of them turn out to be not so good, and sadly, this is the one that falls into that category here. In this movie, the spaceship Starship Avalon is in its 120-year voyage to a distant colony planet known as the Homestead Colony, and transporting 5,258 people having a malfunction in one of the sleeping chambers. As a result, one of the hibernation pods opens prematurely, and the one person that awakes from that is Jim Preston, played by Chris Pratt, who's standing on the spaceship still 90 years from his destination. Of course, he has a partner. He has someone else who breaks open in Jennifer Lawrence, and there's an interesting premise here. And Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt are the strongest parts of the movie overall. You do buy their chemistry overall. But, and on a visual standpoint, it looks incredible. You can see where that $110 million budget went to. And the effects do show here. Everything else, though, is just a complete dud. I mean, the rest of the cast, Michael Sheen, Andy Garcia, Lawrence Fishburne, Nazanin Bernardi, who I really do like in this, on How I Met Your Mother and Homeland. Once again, this is another movie where she's not really given a whole lot to do. Nobody's really giving anything interesting or exciting to do here. They're just simply stock characters. The script is also not that great either. This is John Spates, who had just come off of Doctor Strange, and of course is more known for writing the script for Prometheus, and you can definitely see the flaws from Prometheus showing up in this movie. But then again, he also wrote The Darkest Hour from a couple years back, so maybe I should have seen this coming. The editing is shockingly bad, too. This is Marion Brandon, who did a lot of J.J. Abrams' movies. The Star Trek films, Super 8, Star Wars The Force Awakens. But then again, this could be one of those movies where Sony had their hand in the editing room for more of it than she did. Even the direction is off. This is the same director who did The Imitation Game, which very similar to this movie. Good performances from the leads, but a lot of problems script-wise, and I just don't think he should have been given this opportunity to direct such a big, higher-budgeted movie so quickly after The Imitation Game. I mean, this thing has every right to be something amazing, but the only thing that makes it redeemable is the chemistry and the visuals. But other than that, it's a boring movie, man. Like, this was a snooze fest, man. There are much better movies with these two involved in it than this one here. Yeah, I don't know what else to tell you except avoid Passengers like the plague. Avoid it for millions of years to come. Avoid it for the amount of time it took these people to get to where they needed to go, so. But, hey, I'd rather watch this than our next movie. It's, hey, we started the year off with a really god-awful raunchy comedy that was clearly written by somebody who had just learned swear words for the first time ever, so why not end the year with one that's also like that, too? Bryan Cranston and James Franco starring in Why Him?
Motherfucking fuck yeah! I'm so fucking psyched that you're out here for the holidays.
This is a 15-year-old child.
Oh, shit. You don't say fuck?
Like, do you see what I'm talking about here? Every single word out of James Franco's mouth, every sentence he has to have the word fuck inside of it. Like, we get it. It's an R-rated raunchy comedy. You could be more subtle about it, buddy. But Sadly, this is just like Dirty Grandpa in the fact that, yeah, it's one of the worst comedies you'll ever see in your life. Yeah, it's a terrible movie. Bryan Cranston stars as the father who tries to stop his daughter's immature tech millionaire boyfriend from asking her to marry him. You somehow made a movie worse than Son-in-Law. I don't know how that was even possible, but you did it. Congratulations. You feel good about yourself? I hope you do, because, yeah, nobody else feels good about what you did. Like I said, this movie is so bad. I mean, from the sense that James Franco has to be this raunchy dude to Bryan Cranston's straightforward approach, because, this is an R-rated movie, and again, it feels like this was written and directed by people who just learned swear words for the first time ever, just like Dirty Grandpa. But the big difference between Dirty Grandpa and this is directed by John Hamburg. John Hamburg made a great romantic comedy in I Love You, Man, which a romantic comedy is what I said, but yeah, it felt like that director he lost his way after 7 years, because good lord. It doesn't help that it's also produced and co-written by Jonah Hill, who also wrote the script for this. Not to mention, the way that this movie just telegraphs these terrible jokes is so badly done. The worst example of this is when inside of Lair's house, he just, for some reason, has a living room, inside of his living room, he's got a statue of a moose in a tank filled with its urine. Why? Why do we have this in a situation like this? Because we know that something is going to hit that, and it's going to hit one of the people. I mean, there's one of the people that gets hit by it. I mean, why not? And let's make it even worse than that. Let's have the moose's balls on the guy. Like, it's just like, what are we doing here? Like, seriously, what are we doing here with this garbage? Like, this movie. This is unbearable. The fact that it's the fact that no effort was put into this whatsoever. The daughter in this movie is supposed to be this smart woman, and yet she can't figure out that this guy that she's marrying is a complete asshole, is a complete idiot. At least Carla Gugino knew that Pauly Shore wasn't a smart guy in Son-in-Law. When you're making Son-in-Law better, you have failed. You have failed miserably as a movie, and this movie definitely fails. Like, this film is atrocious in its levels of laziness, the fact that it's so corny, it's so cheesy. I mean, this movie is awful. Awful. Have you got the point? It's awful. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. This movie is terrible. This movie is absolutely 100% terrible. Avoid Wide Him like the plague. This movie is terrible. Have you got the point? It's terrible. Want some more terribleness from Fox? There you go. Assassin's Creed. Come on down.
Pioneer, only fine. Assassin's Creed, rated PG-13.
You want to know the moment when this movie was doomed? Not from the fact that this was being made by 20th Century Fox, who had a talent and a knack for basically destroying every single good franchise out there and basically ruining it with a bad movie. I mean, that's kind of their norm. Not the fact that this was produced by Ubisoft, because you think with the company that made the game on it, you would think it would make for a good movie, but no. It's not the fact that it's clearly written by people who have no idea how the source material works. No. You want to know why the movie failed right out of the get-go? Rated PG-13. For a movie about an assassin. I mean, can't get straightforward than that. But no, this is based off of this is in the same universe as the video games, but it's an original story where you have Callum Lynch, played by Michael Fassbender, who was abducted by the Abstergo Foundation because of his heritage. Cal's ancestor, Aguaya de Nerja, was a member of the Assassin Brotherhood active during the Spanish Inquisition, because no one expects the Spanish Inquisition in the late 15th century, who swore to protect the Apple of Eden, an artifact believed to contain the key to humanity's free will. Cal must accept his assassin heritage and stop Abstergo, the Templar order of the modern day, from finding the apple and using it to enslave humanity. What else do I got to even say about this movie? I mean, like I said, it's a movie where it's another example of taking a popular video game franchise to the big screen and handling it to people who have no idea what they're doing, because they never played the game, they never saw the game, They just were given a cliff notes about what this game is about and said, okay, we'll just make an original concept out of it. People will go to see it because, look, we've got Magneto in here, we've got Jeremy Irons, we've got Marion Cotillard, we've got Brendan Gleeson. And we'll tease it by the fact that Ubisoft put this together. I mean, how could it possibly fail? Well, case in point, the movie itself. This is one of the laziest movies ever. And it just simply goes to show you that the Angry Birds movie becoming one of the better video game movies at that point was not a sign that the tide was beginning to change. The tide is still just relatively at bay right now because, yeah, we still got a ton of bad video game movies to come before we actually get to the good video game movies that this movie certainly is not. This movie is clearly another example of a studio completely mishandling a franchise and just hoping for that the name and possibly the look of the game will sell the film on its own merits alone. Who cares about an actual script? Guess what? Real people do. Real fans of the video game, which the people who made this movie clearly are not. So yeah, that's 2 strikes for 20th Century Fox. Let's see if they can get this. Let's see if they can get out of this inning with a good one here. Let's take a look at Hidden Figures.
Leave your calculators. You won't need them where we're going.
We all get there together, or we don't get there at all.
My gals are ready. We can do it, sir.
There's no protocol for women attending.
There's no protocol for a man circling the earth either, sir.
Hidden Figures at PTA.
There's the hit. The ball is going up in the air, going, and gone. We have a home run, ladies and gentlemen, from 20th Century Fox. I knew these binoculars I got at the NFL draft would come in handy. Hidden Figures, as you could probably tell, is a really good movie. You have Taraji P. Henson starring as Katherine G. Johnston, a mathematician who calculates flight trajectories for Project Mercury and other missions. The film also features Octavia Spencer and Janelle Monáe, along with Kevin Costner, Kirsten Dunst, Jim Parsons, Glenn Powell, and Mahershala Ali, about female African-American mathematicians at NASA. And, yeah, this is very much a crowd-pleasing movie on the levels of The Help and The Blind Side, and while I don't think this fits the levels of The Help, it's definitely better than The Blind Side. I did really enjoy the hell out of this movie. There was a lot to admire about it, simply the fact that, you know, it's an impressive directorial effort from Ted Melfi, who did St. Vincent, one of my favorite movies from 2014. I love the pairing of Taraji P. Henson, Octavia Spencer, and Janelle Monáe. Their chemistry together is great. It also helps that they have their own acting pedigrees they can stand on. I mean, Henson is always going to be great to watch on screen because you know she'll commit to a great performance, and she does it well here. And once again, it's a shame she didn't get nominated for this, just like with The Color Purple. It's just like, come on, man. Like this woman deserves an Oscar, for God's sakes. But they do have an Oscar winner in Octavia Spencer, who is really good here. And Janelle Monáe really makes a good leading film debut in this movie. And she's also in Moonlight, too. I forgot that she was in that movie. Speaking of Moonlight, her co-star Mahershala Ali is pretty good in here. So is Costner, Parsons, Dunst. It does a good job of capturing the 1960s very well, from the costume designs to the way the buildings look. They do a pretty good job capturing 1960s Langley, Virginia. And again, the set designs and the costumes really are something that should have gotten some Oscar recognition as well. The movie is really good, too. The soundtrack by Pharrell Williams is really good. The score by Hans Zimmer is nicely done. There are a couple of flaws to it. Some of the acting doesn't work too well. Specifically, the actor playing John Glenn, which is Glenn Powell, which basically shows you that before he became the big star with Top Gun Maverick, I had my problems with him. Like, in this movie, I thought he was overacting the role a little bit here, and he wasn't really given a whole lot to do. Just to be supportive and have one note, really, for the most part. He didn't really seem to be doing that much. And somebody who's supposed to play an important figure like John Glenn, you would think the script would give him more to do. But on top of that, you do get the cliche biopic moment that they have to improvise the dramatic elements. But that's expected. I don't guys throw too much shade into that because it's not more kind of a nitpicky thing overall. Bottom line is I really enjoyed this movie. I thought the acting by the 3 actresses were really good. The story, while predictable and cliche sometimes, is an interesting story in our history. And the film looks very impressive. The music is nicely done. It's a really good movie. It's a film that definitely deserves to watch. If you haven't seen Hidden Figures, definitely check it out. It's definitely a really solid film overall. So let's go ahead now and move on to some more awards contenders here. Let's look at Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg's second film of the year, Patriots Day.
Patriots Day. Rated R.
This is, of course, the movie based off of the Boston Marathon bombings of 2013 and the subsequent terrorist manhunt. One of 2 movies, actually, that told this story. The other one being Stronger with Jake Gyllenhaal that comes out the following year. And while this one definitely is nowhere near as good as Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg's previous films together, Lone Survivor and Deepwater Horizon, I still think are much better movies. This one actually is a lot better than I remember it being, especially considering that this is a CBS film. And CBS Films has been notoriously known for not being great movies, mostly taking scripts from studios that were basically kind of thrown away, basically scripts that would have been probably probably pilots for CBS TV shows, but here they actually do one that's actually kind of good, one of the few really good movies, and it works because of the commitment to all the actors in here and doing a good job of telling the story without feeling like you're trying to get a cheap emotional output from you. It's a really good film, and Peter Berg, once again, showing what he can do as a director. He makes this work very well, and like I said, it's nowhere near as good as the other two movies he did, Lone Survivor and Deepwater Horizon, but when you have a cast that includes a lot of good talent like Wahlberg, Bacon, Goodman, Simmons, Michelle Monaghan, Alex Wolff, Candy Alexander, Rachel Brosnahan, I mean, there is a solid cast involved in this movie, and it is a very strong, well-made film that works really well. It's a really good movie. It's one that I do recommend checking out if you haven't seen it. Very underrated film overall. Like I said, not as good as Lone Survivor or Deepwater Horizon, but still good enough to recommend it. And I'm glad I got a chance to rewatch this again, because I thought I didn't like this one all that much, but turns out I actually liked it much better than I thought I would. So, yeah, Patriots Day was pretty good. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, Martin Scorsese's latest film, and that is Silence. That's deep, bro. Silence is, of course, based off of the 1966 novel by Shoshuka Indo and marks the third film adaptation of this novel and follows two 17th century Jesuit priests who travel from Portugal to Edo period Japan via Maku to locate their missing mentor and spread Catholic Christianity. You have Andrew Garfield in his second Oscar contender film of the year behind Hacksaw Ridge, as well as Adam Driver coming off of his success with The Force Awakens, and also Kieran Hines, Tadanobu Asano, and Liam Neeson. And this is actually the third film that Scorsese did about religious figures struggling with challenges of faith following The Last Temptation of Christ and Kundun. This one's kind of right in the middle. Not as good as The Last Temptation of Christ, but certainly a lot better than Kundun was. On a technical level, it looks really good. On a story level, not so much. I mean, it's not bad, but it certainly feels like there was much more that could have been done if they had gone much deeper into the subject matter. But this is one that's clearly going for the acting performances and the visual effort alone. And yeah, it's definitely there, but certainly doesn't make it one of the stronger movies by Martin Scorsese overall. I do give him credit for doing something that's outside of his norm overall, but yeah, I think most people weren't really all that invested by it. It was not a big hit when it came out. Critically, financially, it wasn't a big hit. It only brought in half of its $50 million budget, but I'll give it this. For $50 million, they made it look incredible overall. It's a really solid-looking film. I think it needed a little bit more of an oomph in the scripting department overall to make it stand out better, but visually pleasing to look at, but nowhere near as spectacular or as amazing as I think it could have been from the story angle. So, yeah, not a bad movie, just not one that's really worth it in the long haul. So let's go ahead now and move on to our next movie, which is Ben Affleck's latest film, his first directing effort after Argo, and kind of like with Silence, is a good idea, good visuals, good acting, but man, it lacks in the story department. Live by Night. Boston, 1926. The 20s are rolling. Liquor is flowing, bullets are flying, and one man sets out to make his mark on the world. Prohibition has given rise to an endless network of underground distilleries, speakeasies, gangsters, and corrupt cops. Joe Coughlin, the young son of a prominent Boston police captain, has long since turned his back on a strict and proper upbringing. Now he's graduated from a childhood of petty theft to a quick career in the pay of the city's most fearsome mobsters. Joe enjoys the spoils, thrills, and notoriety of being an outlaw, but life on the dark side carries a heavy price. In a time when ruthless men of ambition, armed with cash, illegal booze, and guns, battle for control, no one, neither family nor friend, enemy nor lover, can be trusted. I mean, on a technical level, yes, the movie looks visually impressive. It does a good job of fitting the tone of what 1920s Boston could look like. The overall casting is really good. I mean, you would think that'd be more than you need for a film like this, but all I can think to myself is, wow, this is just as bad as Gangster Squad was. And remember, Gangster Squad is one of those movies that looks visually impressive, but ends up becoming a generic mess because of a story that felt like it was rushed because they had to reshoot it, a lot of scenes after the Aurora Theater shooting. I mean, the movie felt like that. Like, they reshot a lot of things, not because of a tragic event, but because there was buzz on this one being one of the big Oscar contenders. I mean, this is his directorial follow-up after Argo. And he already proven he's a great director with Gone Baby Gone in The Town, and, you know, the film just kind of gets pushed off here, and the overall plot really is not that investing or exciting at all. It really feels rushed. It felt like Warner Brothers gave Ben Affleck the chance to make this movie, but he had to attach himself to another movie, like The Accountant or Batman v Superman, before he could do it. And he just finished those films up and realized, oh shit, we were supposed to shoot this movie 2 weeks ago. So he just rushed out a script, did a Clip Notes rundown of the book that it's based off of, and just said, okay, let's shoot this. We literally don't have any time. It's like that Family Guy joke where, you know, Ben Affleck's sitting in his living room, and he's just like, oh man, I gotta play Othello in about 5 minutes. And he's just like, hello, and he's like, done, and just walks away. Like, that's what it felt like. This is basically the movie version of that Family Guy joke. The whole thing just feels rushed. The plot is all over the place. None of the characters never take off as well as they should. Even Affleck himself said, editing is a strange process. It's a lot of ups and downs, but overall the movie has amazing performances. I just got so lucky with the cast. They're incredible. The hardest part about the process now is trying to find stuff to cut out because I don't want the movie to be too long. And that perfectly sums up the movie. I just don't think Affleck knew what he needed to cut out in order to make the story move along better. And for somebody with a directing resume that includes Gone Baby Gone, The Town, and Argo, this is unusually bad. And you got a good cast in here. You know, Affleck's great here. Ellie Fanning's really good. Brendan Gleeson, Chris Messina, Sienna Miller, Zoe Saldana, Chris Cooper, Titus Welliver, Clark Gregg. A really good cast overall. And one thing that needs to be perfectly made about Ben Affleck with this movie is that I don't think he should have quit his directing job after this, which luckily he did, because a couple years later he would make a really good directorial effort in Air, one of the best movies of 2013. He's a really good director. He proved that with the 3 films prior to this. This is just a misfire, and I'm saying this because of what happened to his career in the 2000s. Like, he makes these big movies, and all of a sudden his career goes down the toilet with Daredevil, Geely, Surviving Christmas, Paycheck, Jersey Girl, and then you think his career's over, but then he finds that second coming again with Hollywoodland, and then Gone Baby Gone, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's a disappointment overall. Yes, this is, but I'm glad to see that he didn't use this as a means to get out of directing overall. He is a great director, and he's proven it time and time again. I'll give the movie credit for its visuals and its casting overall, but it's definitely a disappointing miscue that should have been way better than the final product came out to be. I mean, it is not a great film overall. So let's go ahead and wrap the year up with a really good film. A good film that definitely deserves a lot more attention. Juan Antonio Bayóna's A Monster Calls.
Unforgettable masterpiece
You will like a shrimp.
that will make your spirit soar.
Well, this is why you called me. Come on.
A Monster Calls. Rated PG-13.
So this is based off of a novel written by the writer of this movie, Patrick Ness, and follows the story about Connor, played by Louis McDougall, a child whose mother, played by Felicity Jones, is terminally ill, and one night he's visited by a giant tree-like monster voiced by Liam Neeson, who states that he will come back and tell him 3 stories. Yeah, this one is heavily compared to not only Steven Spielberg's The BFG from earlier in the year, but also a little bit of Pete's Dragon as well. I feel like both of those movies kind of hurt this film in the long run, in terms of its box office success overall, but you know, I really like the BFG, and I do really like Pete's Dragon, and for the most part, this is a very different and much darker movie than the BFG or Pete's Dragon is, and a slightly better movie than the BFG is. The movie works because of a number of aspects. One, the visuals are staggeringly beautiful. This movie is just engulfed in some of this gorgeous imagery, and it helps that you have a great cinematographer in Oscar Ferrara who's making it work, and Juan Antonio Bayona really does a good job with the directing on this. I could see why they picked him to direct Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, because yeah, that movie has a lot of flaws to it, but the direction is far from the best. Is far from one of the film's many problems. I mean, the directing is absolutely incredible in that movie. We'll get to that in 2018, of course, but the casting overall is really good. Louis McDougall's a really good kid actor in this movie. Felicity Jones is very good as the mother. You know, she's having a great month with Rogue One. Sigourney Weaver's really good in here, so is Toby Kebbell. Liam Neeson, who we just saw in Silence, he perfectly fits the voice of the monster in this. And when you see this monster in this movie, his voice matches that character so well. Like, this movie packs on a tightly written and nicely handled script by the author of the novel, and it does a very good job of packing the emotional impact of the story and developing the characters as well. You know, interesting, 20, 30 years ago, this probably would have been a PG-rated dark family adventure on the levels of Labyrinth or Return to Oz. But as it stands today, it's not only a great movie, but it's one of the more pleasant surprises I saw in a long time. I mean, it's a nicely told, very dark, very emotional, well-acted, visually brilliant movie, and I think it was severely looked big time, because, yeah, it kind of just disappeared and was a huge flop when it came out. Only brought in $3 million off of a it only made $43 million off of a budget that was, I believe, around $60 million, I think it was. I kind of need to do some research on this. Hold on. I was off a little bit. $43 million. So I was off by $17 million. But still, for $43 million, this and Silence, small budgeted movies looked incredible, but just couldn't find a way to get to the regular audience in general here. And it's a shame because they really missed out on a really good film here. This is a phenomenal movie and one that I highly recommend checking out. If you have not seen A Monster Call, seek this one out because it's a masterpiece of a film. Truly an excellent film and a great way to end a really strong year for movies that was 2016. But as per usual, we're not quite done with 2016 just yet, as we have the last weekend of 2016 coming up on the next episode of Time About the Movies, but I saw the movies that were on the schedule for December 30th. Nothing really worth noting or talking about, but that doesn't mean we have films that we still have yet to talk about. Behold the 2016 leftovers. Not as many as usual. We've got Tom Hiddleston starring in I Saw the Light, also starring Elizabeth Olsen, so two MCU people in the story, in the biopic about Hank Williams Jr. We have Miles Ahead, Don Cheadle's directorial debut. We have one of Mike Flanagan's films of the year, Hush, which was on Netflix. The HBO movie Confirmation about the Clarence Thomas hearings in 1992. Kerry Washington playing Anita Hill. All the Way with Bryan Cranston in a much better movie than Why Him, along with Anthony Mackie. Bryan Cranston's Lyndon B. Johnson and Anthony Mackie as Martin Luther King. Adventures in Babysitting, the remake on Disney Channel, which I would not be talking about except the fact that it features one of the biggest stars on the planet right now, Sabrina Carpenter. Yeah, probably all you people out there who are Sabrina Carpenter fans forgot that this woman was a child actress about 10 years ago. But yeah, she was in a remake of Adventures in Babysitting on Disney Channel, which should pretty much tell you how that movie is going to play out, but we'll touch on that, as well as our assortment of DC films and Warner Brothers movies. Only 4 this time around, but one of them is very notable. We have the controversial adaptation of Batman the Killing Joke. We also have Batman and Batman Bad Blood, Justice League vs. Teen Titans, and Tom and Jerry in a sequel to one of their more successful direct-to-video movies, Tom and Jerry Back to Oz, the sequel to Tom and Jerry Meets the Wizard of Oz. So we will take a look at all those movies. That'll be coming up tomorrow here on the channel, so stay tuned for that. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, that notification button. Also hit that lovely little playlist right there so you can check out some previous episodes, as well as our lovely list of a lovely episode that we just did. I don't know why I'm doing this outro like this, but I am, so sue me. But with all that said, though, please don't sue me. With all that said, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.